Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have something very interesting to take a look at. We've got ourselves just the two Raptors from Iron Studios. This is another of their art scale 1/10 scale deluxe models. I have reviewed a few of these type of models in the past, but they were always just like an individual dinosaur on a base. This time we've got two Velociraptors from Jurassic Park on a base. This was actually up for a very cool sale on sideshow.com recently. And I have to give a shout out to lego.my.stego on Instagram, who is actually the one that pointed this sale out on his Instagram account. And I noticed that, and I immediately went over to Sideshow, took a look around, saw that they had it for that sale, and bought it because it was like 57% off or like some random number, but it was only like $100 and some odd for the set, maybe closing in at like $150 or something like that. And you know, I thought for sure that was a pretty good deal for a set like this, an Iron Studios Velociraptor set with two Raptors and a very cool base. But as you can see, the packaging looks really cool. It's clearly got that classic Jurassic Park look to it, with the background there with the trees and everything, the nice sunset, gorgeous Jurassic Park logo up at the top, and then of course the Raptors there in the center. The side of the box doesn't really have a whole lot going on, but still, again, keeping up with that Jurassic Park theme with the trees and sunset and all of that fun stuff. And then the back of the box here shows just, again, the same style of box, but with a nice image there showing off the model with the Raptors on the base and everything. So let's pop this box open and bring in our Raptors. So here is the base that we have with our Raptors, and it looks pretty cool. I don't know that I would really say it looks like Isla Nublar or any vegetation or anything I'd see on there. I would have expected more like ferns and stuff like that, but it still looks kind of cool, you know, not terrible, I guess. And then you can see that we've got a really nice Jurassic Park logo right here on the front. I do really like that aspect of the base. And then we've got our Velociraptors here, and let's move the base actually over so we can get a look at the Raptors. And they look okay as well. You know, I'm not super blown away by them. I actually think the older ones that I had seen as far as the 1/10 scale Raptors looked a lot better. Just the paintwork, I think, was a little bit better on the older ones. And the head sculpt looks pretty decent on this one, though. Initially, when I had seen the images of it, like the promo images, I felt like the head sculpts look a little weird sometimes on Iron Studios Raptors, but this one doesn't look terrible. I don't know that I'd say it's the most accurate thing in the world, but definitely not bad by any means. I guess I'm going to have to just set it down like this for a moment until we figure out how they go on the base. But then we've got the other Raptor here, so it is pretty cool to have two Raptors in this scene, and I think this one actually looks a little bit better as far as the paintwork goes than the other one, but still not great. I wouldn't say either one is particularly fantastic as far as the paint apps go, but they're definitely a little better than I was expecting, because I almost always have low expectations nowadays for Iron Studios releases. Like when I had acquired their 1/10 scale Dilophosaurus, I was severely let down by their paint job. I thought it was really quite awful. And I've seen a lot of images of other people's models where the paint jobs on those as well were pretty atrocious for what they should be. So even though I don't think that these are great, and they're definitely not as nice as they should be, they're still not terrible. But let me figure out exactly how they go on the base here. So I think this one goes over here to the far right, potentially. Yes, definitely. I can see because of the, well, that's not definite, but I'm pretty sure if I can get this vegetation out of my way here. So there we go. I think that one's in the base now. And then this one goes right here, I think, if I can find the peg hole. So there we go. We've got our Raptors now on the base. They went in pretty easy, not too difficult or anything. And once they're on the base, I will say they do look pretty cool. Definitely makes for a very nice visual of the Raptors kind of hanging out in a nice vegetation-filled area. The thing I'm taking away, I think, at this point that's kind of a downside is the fact that the paint just doesn't seem to have a whole lot of life to it, but still, I think it's a little better than I was expecting. So let's go ahead and jump straight to a closer look at both of these Raptors right now. So beginning with the first of the two Raptors, this is the more kind of standing upright version, less crouched than the other one. You can see the head sculpt looks pretty decent. Again, I don't know that it looks perfect to what a JP Raptor looks like, but it looks okay for the most part. It's got some nice looking sculpt and detail as far as the skin texture goes. Again, not overly vibrant, but about as good as what you would expect for an Iron Studios release. The thing I think I like the most would be the eye. I think the eye looks pretty nice as far as the coloration. I can actually see variations of greens and stuff within the eyes. And I do like that they added a little bit of extra, blacks and stuff here moving along the jawline, but for the most part there really isn't a whole lot going on as far as the coloration here in the face. You primarily just have like this light tannish brown and then a few areas of that darker brown, and that's really about all they put forth into this. You can see the nostrils there sculpted out. They did highlight the nostrils pretty nicely. I actually think maybe this side of the head sculpt looks a little bit better, but one thing I think could have helped with this would have been maybe like a dark wash. I just feel like a dark wash could have highlighted the detail a little bit more realistically than what we have here. But again, you can see the eye does look pretty cool. There's a nice turn in the neck to this Raptor as it's got its head completely turned to the left. You can see the paintwork does look fairly okay here up on the top of the head, and you start to see that striping effect moving down the course of the Raptor. Because the dark brown is there, it's so dark, it's hard to really pick up on that, striping, but there is a black striping moving down the back of the Raptor. There's some nice creasing and everything there in the neck as you move down the course of the neck of the Raptor. Lots of really nice skin detail. You've got a little bit of like saggy skin there in the throat because of the positioning of the Raptor. And then as you move down here, you can see one arm is held kind of into the body a little bit, the other arm a little bit further forward. You've got those nice long arms, again, like you would expect to see on a Jurassic Park Raptor. You've got nice muscle definition there in the arms. The hands are also sculpted pretty darn nicely, and you've got some nicely painted nails. The nails do have a bit of a glossy look to them as well, which is a plus. As you move back here into the stomach region, you can see the skin texture does look pretty nice. Overall, I think the fine detail of the Raptor definitely does look pretty good. You've got kind of some small osteoderms running along the back here of the spinal column of the Raptor. You can definitely pick out the striping there for sure. You've got the hip bone right there. Nice muscle definition moving down the course of the thigh, as well as, again, a very light kind of subtle striping effect moving down. The muscle definition looks very nicely defined as you move down into the knee. You've got the knee right there, and again, a nice big bulging calf muscle. And then as you move down into the foot sculpt, I think the foot sculpt actually looks great. It genuinely looks like the foot sculpt of the Raptor from Jurassic Park. When you kind of see the Raptor tapping its claws, or when it's running down and you get a look at its feet there, I really think they nailed the look of the foot sculpt here of the Raptor, as well as, again, some pretty decent paintwork there for the feet. And you can see the dew claws and everything are painted there on the opposing foot. And as you move up here, I think the tail looks very awkward right here. I don't know why it bends so strangely right there, but as you move out the length of the tail, you have a very sharp curve to the tip of the tail there. In general, actually, the entire tail has a very sharp curve to it. You can see the striping effect again moving out, but the thing I think, is just it looks good. It just needed a little bit more color to it to really be fantastic. It doesn't look bad by any means. It's nothing as far as the Dilophosaurus goes. Compared to that, the Dilophosaurus paint job was pretty atrocious. The paint job of this definitely looks a lot better. It's just some areas just fall a little flat when it comes to looking like a living animal, more so than just a model with paint on it. And again, you can see what it looks like over here on the initial side. I think the weirdest thing about this one is just this area of the tail looks super strange to me, but specifically the head sculpt, I think, is one area that really could have used a little bit of extra paintwork. Then we've got that kind of crouching Raptor. This one looks cool because it does have its mouth opened a little bit here, and you can see the teeth there on the inside of the mouth. All the teeth look to be sculpted individually and, of course, painted individually. They look pretty good, and there's actually a nice shine to the teeth there that you can see as well, which helps to make them look pretty lifelike. If we could turn it here without damaging the Raptor, you can definitely see, again, the teeth look pretty nice on this. And I also think the paintwork of this one looks pretty good. Definitely better than the other one. I like that there's a little bit more extra brown running down here under the tip of the snout. Something we didn't see a whole lot of on the first raptor we had taken a look at. There's also a nice dry brushing here running along the lower jaw, highlighting that detail on this one, which is also something that I didn't notice on the first one. If it was there, I do apologize, but I didn't notice it, so it definitely looks nicer on this one. Just giving this one, again, as far as the head goes, a bit more life, a bit more realism. The eye also looks great on this one. Again, really nice tones of green and stuff in there. Nice gloss coat to make it have that nice realistic eye shine. As you move down, you can see the raptor also has its head turned to the left, but nowhere near as sharp of a turn as what we saw on the initial one. You've got a little bit of hanging skin here in the throat area, the underside of the neck. And as you move down, you again see the same style of detail leading down the course of the neck, pretty much as you would expect. It's a little hard to really look at it on this side because the tail curves toward us and it keeps smacking the camera and like rubbing up against the stand. But you can see the arms are also in different positions, just like we saw in the other one, where one arm's a little bit further forward, one arm's held back a little bit more so into the body. They are really nicely sculpted, and you've got some decent paintwork on them. You can see like the lighter browns kind of creeping through these somewhat darker browns, which I really do like. You've got those nice big raptor hands, the nicely painted nails yet again, and you can see the legs are kind of crouched here as the raptor almost appears to be sneaking up, and you can see the striping effect moving down the leg. Again, really nice looking foot sculpt for the raptor, nicely painted nails yet again, and then as you move up here you can see again the muscle definition, the skin texture, everything looks great on the raptor. This one I think looks definitely better than the other one, except for again when we get to the tail we have another awkward spot here where the thigh leads up into the tail and it just looks very strange. I don't know why, I don't know what they did there, but it looks weird. And then just like the other one, you have a very strong curve to the tail. Bit different as far as the appearance to the curve, but another curve nonetheless. There is still a striping moving down the course of the back of the dinosaur, but I don't think it's quite as strong as we saw on the first raptor. But as you take a look over here at this side, again, you can see what the difference is between the leg positioning, the hand positioning. It all looks really nice. Again, definitely a nice looking raptor, and you can definitely get a nice clearer image of the detailing here of the stomach. But again, this is another one of those areas where I feel like we really don't have a whole lot going on as far as the coloration. Like, they could have used maybe a dry brushing or a wash of some kind, just something to kind of add a little more life to that. But I feel like Iron Studios is kind of almost at this point famous for doing stuff like that, where they just don't put forth as much effort into the paint jobs as they probably could or should. And then you can see the leg again looks pretty nice. We again have the nice looking crouch and everything, so the awkwardness to the tail. But again, I think the sculpt looks pretty darn nice overall. Like I said, maybe not picture perfect to a Jurassic Park Velociraptor, but very, very close. The thing that I have the biggest problem with, again, is the lack of life in the paint apps. But for what it is, I think it looks good. It's just like when you look at the grand scheme of things, like the overall price for a model like this being, I forget exactly what this was originally, but like let's just say about $250, $260, something like that. You know, you really do expect a decent amount of paint on your figure, but it seems like that's not something that you always get for an Iron Studios release. But still, again, it's not bad. I'm not saying it's bad by any means. I just think it could have been a little better. And then again, we've got the base with the really nice kind of a almost bronze sort of Jurassic Park logo here on the front. And then as you move up, it's sculpted really nicely. There's some vegetation down here, and then you have all of this kind of plastic vegetation up here. I think the plants look not so realistic, not so lifelike. They definitely look like fake plants, but that's kind of obvious, and that's kind of something that at this point is to be expected for a model like this. They at least chose a little variety when it comes to the vegetation, which I can appreciate. And then as you look back here, you can see the footprints of the raptors kind of sitting amongst all the vegetation. And I do like the fact that they kind of gave this that area where the raptors are hiding within lots of vegetation, pretty much how we see them in Jurassic Park. So that's pretty cool. I just feel like it would have been nicer had these areas, these vegetation areas, been more of like a fern sort of a look rather than what we have here, but they still look pretty nice. And again, you can see that the base itself is absolutely filled with vegetation. It looks okay as far as the coloration and paintwork goes. There's a little variation of color overall, so that's a plus. And then you can see here running down along the side, it also looks pretty decent as far as both the paint and sculpt goes. And then here on the underside, you can see again just the two Raptors, Iron Studios, 1/10 scale. I don't know if this is a limited edition or not. I think it is, but it actually doesn't say so here on the underside or anything. So your guess, I guess, is as good as mine at this point when it comes to that. As far as a size goes for the Raptors, I don't know how good we're going to get of a measurement because they're all kind of like bent and stuff, so it's not going to be that great of a measurement. But if we go from the snout to the tail in this one, you're looking at about 8.5 inches, maybe actually a little over, or about 22 centimeters. So a little over 8.5, closing in on 8 3/4. And then for a height, now this would be the Raptor on the base. So if we go from the ground to the top of the Raptor here, you are looking at about 7.25 inches or a little over 18 centimeters. And then for the further Raptor here, the one that was kind of hiding and crouched back here, for a length from the tail to the snout, you're looking at around 9 inches. And again, this is not a perfect measurement, but roughly around 9 inches or about 23 centimeters. And then for a height to the top of the head of that one, about the 6.25 inch range or just shy of 16 centimeters. So definitely not the best measurements in the world. That was a little hard to get a good measurement on these guys. But for a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Dilophosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our Just the Two Raptors set from Iron Studios. And you can see that, again, the Raptors do sport a pretty good, pretty impressive size. I don't feel like we need to do too many comparisons this time around just because it's kind of like an awkward set because they're like up high on the base and it's just not something that's easy to compare with. But we will do a few, probably just like my normal randoms. So there we have a Mattel Velociraptor and Dilophosaurus standing in for a comparison next to the Iron Studios Raptors, and you can very clearly see that these Raptors are quite a bit larger. And then we've got the Safari Ltd Utayrannus, Schleich Diabloceratops, and Collect Date Deluxe Dimetrodon stepping in here for another comparison next to the Raptors, showing you that yet again they are larger than everybody here. And then for one final comparison, we have the recently released Dino Dream Velociraptors here next to the Iron Studios Velociraptors. And although you can see that the Iron Studios Raptors are definitely quite a bit larger than our Dino Dream Raptors, the Dino Dream Raptors are absolutely miles ahead of these Iron Studios versions. The Dino Dream Raptors just generally have way better sculpts, way better paint apps, and look absolutely magnificent. Whereas the Iron Studios Raptors look pretty decent. They don't look terrible, but they just don't hold a candle to the Dino Dream Raptors, no doubt about that. So this Iron Studios Just the Two Raptors set is interesting. You know, it's not terrible. It really isn't. It's better than I expected it to be, but at the same time, I almost had kind of like some slight hope that it would be better than I was expecting, but better than what we actually got at the same time, because it's one thing with Iron Studios, sometimes I think their sculpts look a little bit strange, a little bit off, and although the Raptors here actually look better, I think, than your standard Iron Studios sculpt, I still feel like there's a little bit of something that's off about them. I just really can't pick up on it exactly. But the biggest downside here, I would say, is the paint jobs. And although the paint jobs by no means are terrible, they're just like they're not near as bad as the Dilophosaurus from Iron Studios paint job was. There's just not a whole lot to them. And I feel like they definitely could have been better considering the amount of money you have to pay for one of these statues. They definitely could put forth a little bit more effort into delivering a more lifelike and realistic paint job. Again, the Raptors from Jurassic Park never really have a whole lot of color or patterning or designing or anything like that to them, but I just feel like there could have been more of an attempt to these Raptors to give them a little bit more life in the paint jobs considering the price you have to pay. They're still, again, not terrible, and one Raptor is definitely better than the other. I think the crouching Raptor actually looks a lot nicer, especially in the head when it comes to the paint apps than the more standing upright one, but neither are what I would even remotely say is incredible. The base is pretty cool, though. It's got some decent vegetation, some okay-looking paint, nothing really to write home about or brag about, and it also has some pretty fun kind of like plastic vegetation on it, which does help to add to the scene here, and definitely helps to add a little bit more of an appeal to the model overall. And I love the Jurassic Park logo right there on the front, of course. I think the bronze sort of look that we have for it looks okay. I think I would have preferred maybe actually having a full-colored logo there, but it looks alright again for what it is. So as a whole, this set is alright. That's about the best I can give it. It's not amazing, and maybe I'm just a little bit ruined now after those Dino Dream Raptors I had reviewed a few days back, but I'm just not blown out of the water by this set. It's still pretty cool. Definitely, if you are a fan of the Jurassic Park Raptors, it's a fun one to pick up. Iron Studios has released better Raptor packs in the past, like the Raptors in the kitchen scene they created and stuff, but if you missed that one like I did, this one isn't terrible to pick up. So if you are interested, I will check on Sideshow's website to see if they have it available. I don't know if it's sold out because I do believe it was pretty low in stock the other day when I had actually purchased mine. So if they do not have it in stock, I will include a link in the description to Big Bad Toy Store, where I consistently purchase most of my models, so you can check that link there. Go grab it from one of those two websites, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.